Okay, it is 10:01, so I think we'll get started with the webinar. Thank you all for joining us today. We're really pleased that you've all taken the time to learn about IMS and our AISight platform. My name is Eric Walk. I'm a pathologist and the Chief Medical Officer here at PathAI, and I'll be your host for the webinar today, which is entitled 2024 Reveal, Discover What's New and What's Next for PathAI's AISight IMS platform. I have the pleasure of being joined by two of my esteemed colleagues, Josh Haber and Jamie Russo, who you see on the screen here, and I'll have them introduce themselves. But first, I'll introduce myself. Again, Eric Walk, CMO here at PathAI. I have a 20-year history, my career in drug and diagnostics development. Been at PathAI for almost 3 years, where I lead the medical team. And I'll also add that I'm very active within the CAP and currently on the College of American Pathologists Digital and Computational Pathology Committee. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Jamie, to introduce herself.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Russo, and I'm the Associate Director of Platform Product here at PathAI. I've been with the company for a bit over 3.5 years now. Right now, currently focusing on our slide viewer across all of our platforms at PathAI, but have also focused on our clinical trial software solutions as well. Happy to be chatting with all of you today. I'll hand it over to Josh.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Haber, product manager here at PathAI. I work directly with the AISight product that we're going to be showcasing today. And I've been with PathAI for about 5 years now, working within our products team to help build these products that we're going to be showcasing. So looking forward to chatting today.
Great, thanks, Jamie and Josh. So we'll move to our agenda. So as you can see, we have 3 topics to discuss with you today. First, I'll be giving an overview of PathAI and telling you about our vision for AI pathology applications in the future of the field. Second, Josh will give us an overview of the PathAI IMS called AISight, including a live demonstration. And Josh will focus on some of the latest platform features that we've added recently. And then finally, Jamie will show the product roadmap for AISight and highlight some of the features that will be coming in the near future. So just a one-slide overview of PathAI as a company, in case you're not familiar with us. So as you can see on the slide, we were founded in 2016 by a pathologist named Andy Beck. Andy trained at Stanford, but it was really when he was at Harvard where he had the vision to focus AI and machine learning technology on the field of pathology and solve problems both in the research clinical trial realm as well as in the clinical space. As you can see from the timeline, we've evolved significantly as a company. Our initial focus was on translational research with biopharma, something that we do a lot of still today. It's very important to us. But we've now moved further into the clinical development process, where we work with pharma on many clinical trials, deploying AI algorithms into clinical trials for enrollment and endpoint measurement, for example, in both in oncology and in non-oncology diseases like NASH. And you may have seen our very recent, just a week or so ago, press release announcing our partnership with Roche, specifically the tissue diagnostics arm of Roche, around co-development of AI-based companion diagnostics, which is something that I personally feel will become the standard by which all companion diagnostics are done. So we're very excited about that, and stay tuned for more news on that topic. Finally, we've built a digital diagnostics part of the business. So this is about commercializing our digital and AI pathology solutions to end users. And actually, that will be the focus today, where we'll tell you about our IMS called AISight and highlight its functionality, including the AI applications within it. A few other facts about the company that I think are important to know. First and foremost, our mission is to improve patient outcomes with AI-powered pathology. We think this is both visionary, but something that's achievable in the near term. We are pathologists first, so we have a large number of pathologists within the company, including myself and Andy, so a total of 30 pathologists working for the company, many of whom in our lab in Memphis, for example, have been validated on primary digital diagnosis. We also have a large team of consultant pathologists that we call our contributor network, and that's now 550 strong. And these pathologists work directly with our machine learning team to develop the AI products that you'll see today. We are the recognized market leader in digital AI pathology. We've raised over $350 million from venture and other sources, and we have 600 total employees. And importantly, science and collaboration is in our DNA. We take this very seriously and have many deep relationships, not only with the top 20 biopharma companies, but also many leading academic medical centers, where we really focus on what's next in AI pathology and exploring different hypotheses in science and medicine using this technology. A couple of more facts and figures. We have over 100 products. Today, the focus will be our AISight IMS. And if there's one thing I'd like you to take away from the entire webinar, and that is that PathAI is not just an AI company, but we also now, in our opinion, have the leading image management system called AISight, which you're going to hear a lot about today. Going along with a science focus, we have over 75 peer-reviewed posters and presentations out in the literature, and I'd invite you to our website where those are all linked for you to take a look at. And then on the digital diagnostic side, we have over 50 laboratories using AISight as an IMS and exploring its use in different applications. And over 500,000 slides have been processed through AISight over the past year. So really exciting progress. For those of you who may be more new to the field of digital and AI pathology, I thought I'd include this slide. So really talking about the basics, the basic components of a digital and AI pathology infrastructure. Of course, you'll need an LIS. That doesn't go away in the digital world. And for most people, that will be the home base where you sign out your cases. But added to that, you would have a whole slide scanner that, of course, digitizes the slides. And importantly, now you have a new piece of software called an image management system. And you'll hear more today about our IMS called AISight. But in general, the IMS is where your digital workflow exists. So this is more than just a viewer. This really is a digital repository for all the images and the cases that you're working with that you can use to retrieve cases, search cases, and in our case, run embedded AI. Then you have the option of adding AI applications to your IMS. And as you can see below, adding the AI enables a number of workflows and use cases that are not possible with a purely digital workflow. And if I click, so I also want to emphasize the advantages of having AI closely integrated into your IMS. So in the case of AISight, we've really built the IMS around the AI application. So it truly is a native, AI native platform. And I think as Josh and Jamie tell you about the features, and you'll see a demo, you'll see the benefits of having AI tightly integrated into the IMS versus having AI bolted on as an afterthought. Before I talk about some of the applications, I've started to, in all my talks, included some basic 101 slides on AI, just so we can all get used to using this terminology. I think at this point in society, everyone's heard of AI. I think not a day goes by where we don't see this in the media or online. And AI in general is a very broad field, so it's really just a concept of machines being able to perform tasks that humans would normally do. Within AI, you have the subset of machine learning, and this takes it one level more specific, and it's talking about algorithms and statistical models that enable machines to learn from data and perform specific tasks. Then within ML, you have deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning that now uses deep neural networks to process and analyze data and make certain predictions. And it's these deep learning models that we use within AI pathology to perform a specific task. So it's important to learn about deep learning models in a little more detail. And this is another slide that I like to show in my talks, more as an education. And the point of this is, I'm not going to go in depth here, but I think just if I asked any of you in your practice today, what is the difference between PCR and IHC and NGS, I think you could all probably tell me the pros and cons of each of those methods. I think the same should be true for these deep learning methods as we move forward in the era of AI pathology. I think pathologists owe it to themselves to be at least minimally fluent in this terminology, because this fluency will be necessary as you're posed with decisions to bring in specific AI applications. And so you'll be able to know the advantages and disadvantages of one technique versus another as you're making these decisions. So just in a very general sense, I'll start on the left. A convolutional neural network, for example, is a highly supervised method, and it's hypothesis driven. So you really need to know what you're looking for with this method. I think PD-L1 is a good example. So there are many models, including one model from PathAI that identified PD-1 positive cells. And during the training of these models, they learn to identify PD-1 positive tumor cells versus lymphocytes by having human pathologists circle these cells or label this data in a supervised way. And the model then will predict the presence of PD-1 positive or negative tumor immune cells in cases that it hasn't seen. So that's what a convolutional neural network does. The direct opposite of that would be something like multiple instance learning, which is an end-to-end approach. So this is weakly supervised and hypothesis seeking. So here during training, you're not labeling a particular cell type. You may ask a more general question like, here are cases that are positive for an EGFR mutation. Here are cases that don't have an EGFR mutation. Is there a difference between those two cases? And this technology will find correlations between those two groups if there is a biologic correlate. And in the middle, you have things like graph neural networks, which I really won't focus on. But this is a technique that is somewhat supervised, but also somewhat non-supervised, where you're giving it some information about what's important in the image, like, for example, cell types, but there is also a large discovery aspect to this as well. And on the far right, we have generative AI techniques, which is really not the focus of today. This is, in general, the technology powering ChatGPT, which everyone knows about. But for histopathology, generative adversarial network techniques are being used for model training. They're being used even to create synthetic histopathology images. So I think this is more for the future, but nonetheless, very exciting. But the takeaway here is really I encourage all of you to become familiar just at a high level with these techniques so you can make those decisions in your practice regarding digital and AI pathology applications. And so as you saw in that comparison, one specific technique or term that's used a lot in this field is level of supervision. So you'll hear about models like convolutional neural network being supervised or multiple instance learning being unsupervised or weakly supervised. And really what that means is during the training of the model, to what extent are the data elements labeled? So in supervised learning, for example, if you're training a model to identify grapes, then during the training, you would label different pictures of grapes. So then over time, the model would learn to identify grapes in an image that it hasn't seen before. Versus in unsupervised or weakly supervised learning, you're not labeling the data like that. You're asking the model to identify the patterns on its own. And so again, application of this could be identifying based on an H&E image mutation positive versus mutation negative cases, or patients who responded to a drug versus didn't respond to a drug. And moving forward in the future, self-supervised learning is something that you should pay attention to. I'm not going to go into it in any depth here, but just know that this is a very attractive method because this does not require labeling of data. Instead, you're using tasks called pre-text tasks to identify elements of the image on its own by posing to the model different challenges like decolorizing the image or turning the image into a puzzle of sorts or rotating the image. And through these tasks, the model can learn about different elements of the image on its own. So keep an eye on that for the future. So the last slide I'll show is this one before I hand it off to Josh, really talking about applications within AI pathology and how these can benefit the lab. And so we're all familiar with the standard workflow through the pathology laboratory where we have specimens coming in, we have histology processes being done, and then we have the case being signed up by a pathologist. So what does AI and digital pathology add to this workflow? Well, I think it has the potential to add quite a lot of value, and a lot of the value is in the area of workflow efficiency and prioritization, and also quality. And I'm not going to talk about all of these, but just to touch on a few, starting with auto QC. So I'm sure in all of your labs today, you have a histotech reviewing slides in the histology laboratory, making sure that there are no folds, or in the case of digital, no out of focus areas before they go to the pathologist. Well, with AI, we can have that done in an automated way. And once the system is connected to the LIS, you can even envision a world where the artifacts, the out of focus areas are automatically triggering rescans or recuts of the slide or image. Moving to the I8C and molecular testing workflow, AI can enable reflex I8C ordering. So just imagine your breast cancer cases being automatically interpreted overnight with a breast cancer detection algorithm and reflexing the cancer cases only to a HER2 I8C and the benign cases not getting a HER2 I8C. So that way during sign out, the I8C is already present for the appropriate cases. Tumor sufficiency is another application that's attractive where now in, I'm sure many of your labs where you're doing NGS, you have pathologists assessing an H&E for tumor presence or absence. AI can do that automatically. You could set thresholds based on the AI's assessment of tumor content. And even, I think in the future, we can imagine screening for NGS using an H&E, where this would use a multiple instance learning model that I talked about before to predict the presence of NGS fusion, mutation, et cetera. So you maybe can screen and eliminate some cases that have a low probability of having that genetic alteration. More on the workflow side, I think intelligent case sorting, load balancing, and prioritization are very attractive. I think Jamie will talk about some of these. Intelligent case sorting, meaning you can use the AI to automatically sort your cases by specialty and sort cases to the derm path area or the GI area, the neuropath area, which may be in a different building or maybe in a different state for your practice. Load balancing refers to this idea of not only distributing cases to pathologists based on quantity, but also complexity. So the AI can assess tumor presence, for example, make sure each pathologist has a equal number of complex cases versus basic cases. And then prioritization. Jamie will talk about this, but for an individual pathologist workload, wouldn't it be nice to know in advance which cases have malignancy, so you could sign those out first and have the report go faster to the patient and the clinician. And then finally, AI-powered biomarker scoring. So PD-L1 assist, HER2 assist, which we'll show today during the demo, I think are the future of biomarker interpretation, including companion diagnostics. And I mentioned earlier the Roche partnership that we have, which is really focused on bringing AI companion diagnostics to the forefront and developing those in a much more seamless way. So just to give you an idea of some of the applications of AI pathology to the workflow, and I've labeled the slide visionary, but what's really cool is that a lot of these applications are ready today, and in fact, Josh and Jamie will talk about some of them. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Josh, who's going to tell you specifically about our IMS called AISight. So Josh, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Eric. If you want to stop sharing, I can share my screen and walk through the next slides in the demo.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. You should be seeing my screen now. Just to walk through a couple slides, and then we're going to spend most of the time doing a little bit of a live demo so you can get a visual of everything we're talking about today. We're going to be walking through the AISight Image Management System. And so we build this at PathAI to be really versatile and custom to whatever customer needs are for the platform. And so we're going to give kind of a high-level overview today and also talk about where the product is going the remainder of the year. But we really want to stress that everything within AISight is tailored to customer needs and feedback that we receive over time. And so we have a development process here where we're really listening constantly to our user base, identifying any workflow improvements or new use cases for the product, and then iterating very quickly on the offering that we have. And so just last year, you can see that we had a number of releases from 2.1 to 2.6. And today, we're going to be giving a demo of our 2.7 release, which was the first release of this calendar year. A couple new features that are included in this release was our first version of our intelligent case list and dashboard, a launching point for pathologists to really understand their caseload and dive into cases. And then also some really cool new viewer functionality to add to the state-of-the-art viewer that we do have, as well as the AI that we're able to embed directly. So let's hop into the demo. I logged into our demo environment here. You should be able to see AISight now. And I logged in as a super user to our demo environment. So none of this is real patient data or names, just to point that out. But we're going to be walking through a few of these sample cases and giving you a taste of what the AISight product looks like. You can see here, as a pathologist, you're able to quickly understand your caseload. Looking at my cases, I'm a lab manager, so I'm looking at all cases for the lab. And I'd be able to also assign these cases to specific pathologists. So here I can assign this to Eric. And then if Eric is looking at his caseload and wants to look at the urgent cases, we're able to filter these this table here using either any of these columns if you want to look between how long a slide has been around, how many slides are unviewed or pending, and also configure the data table here according to what columns you want to display. You have a number of configurations, but at a high level, pathologist is able to get a really good data-centric viewpoint of their caseload. And we're able to also pull in other data fields from an LIS system or anything that we're integrated with into this dashboard to make it even more informative for pathologists. You can see up here that you have a number of filters within these widget charts, as we call them. So these are dynamic. You're able to filter and undo filters up here. And also we're going to continually be adding more widgets as we continue to scale this dashboard over time. So jumping into the first case here, I'm going to click on this link and we're going to be brought into our slide viewer. Now, pathologists may spend most of their time with an AISight within the slide viewer. Obviously, it's a very important part of the workflow. And so I just want to detail a little bit at a high level all the functionality that's available to a user. So at a high level, they're able to see the slides within the accession on the left-hand side. At the top, they're able to see metadata regarding the accession. If a patient has multiple accessions, they'll be able to access those previous or other accessions via the accession drop-down here for the patient. And here you're able to see a numerous amount of actions and results for the slide. At the top, we have our slide viewer toolbar, which has a number, obviously, as you can see, of tools that are available to a pathologist to really just assist in their digital review. As you'd expect here, you can pan or zoom using your mouse, trackpad, or external devices to be looking at the slide. And we do support, deep zoom of these digital images. The user is able to see where they are using this navigation panel in the top right, and they can also navigate that way. And then just going through some of the options that a user has up here, we have a number of configurations. So at a user level, we have a whole page here of user preferences, where a user is able to determine what they would like to see when their slide viewer opens. Do they want this minimized by default? Do they want the label turned off by default? Do they want this magnification bar hidden? Do they want this navigation panel on the right hidden? All these user preferences are available to a pathologist. Additionally, they can adjust them here if they want to on an individual level. Some other tools, you have the ability to rotate a slide, enter full screen mode if you're working on a smaller monitor and want some more real estate. Also take snapshots. A user can take snapshots and export those in a number of resolutions and file types. Also, we have keyboard shortcuts, which are really valuable. And not only keyboard shortcuts, but also any other input device that you're using, like a 3D mouse. You're able not only to see the litany of keyboard shortcuts that we have, but also edit these shortcuts based on your preferences. So if you don't want to use the arrows to pan left or right, you can simply edit those and enter the key that you would want if you want to use right or shift, etc. Also, you can adjust the intensity of that action. So you can adjust the velocity that's associated with that action. We have trail tracking, which is showing the user in this navigation window, which I'll make a little bit larger for viewing purposes, the area of a slide in which a pathologist has viewed, and it's also tracking the level of zoom according to this bar on the left you can see here at which the slide was viewed. And so it could be useful for a number of use cases, including if we're talking about cytology, to understand where on a slide you've already looked and what else has been unviewed. You can, of course, pause, delete that, disable it, and have it on and off by default. Additionally, I'm not going to go over all the tools just in the interest of time, but we do have a number of annotation tools, from utilizing lines to arrows to squares to circles. And also we have the ability to do freehand annotations using a brush tool, using an eraser, etc. You also have the ability to do high power fields, circles, squares at various sizes. And you have the ability to make comments. If you want to take a comment, you can see that we have region comment section here. I'd be able to tag colleagues of mine and, can you take a look at this area? And Eric would receive an email notification and be able to come in here, and we could have threaded conversations. So allowing that sort of ad hoc collaboration when desired. Also useful for modes such as viewing a PDL1 or other IHC, you're able to add slides. And so you can add up to 4 panels here if you wanted to view multiple slides at a time. You can swap slides, you can add additional slides, and you'll be able to view these slides simultaneously and also lock their panning and zooming if desired. We do automatically align the same slide of different stains when we do uploads. And then also you're able to, you can see Eric just added a comment back. So we got that in notification in the comment surfaces here. So that's just a really high level overview of some of the tools that you might expect that are available to you within AISight. As I mentioned, we do auto alignment for a lot of IHC, which becomes helpful within this particular tool here. Okay, so I'm going to hop out to this other case that we were talking about earlier. And we'll pop into the viewer. What you just saw was an example of how you could just use AISight, obviously, for your regular digital case review, right? Now we're going to showcase a brief example of how we have embedded AI within this product so that you're able to do the same thing, but with the added benefit of having some AI assist. And so here you can see very similar slide viewer. You're able to see that we have a number of slides here. This is the last slide for the case, A1-6. And so a pathologist is able to interact the very same, but you'll notice at the top that the foundation model that we have here has been run on these slides. And so pathologists at a high level will be able to see algorithm results in our review panel here. So they're able to see quantitative outputs from the algorithm, such as total area of tissue, total area of tumor, and percent tumor nuclei. And then also supporting quantitative metrics. You can see we've done whole slide analysis. By the time the pathologist opens up the case, all this is already computed. And so we have the total number of cancer cells in tumor, total number of fibroblasts in tumor, et cetera. Now, the first question a lot of pathologists have is, okay, that's great. How'd you come to it? And so the overlays is where we show the visual results of the algorithm that pair to these quantitative results that I just showed you. And so you can see here at a high level, we have these tissue regions, which I'm able to adjust the opacity of. And so you're able to see we have cancer, stroma, cancer, as well as necrosis being highlighted. And our artifact model has run on this algorithm so that you're able to see any artifact that exists on the slide. And then also we have cancer cells and other types of cells that have been highlighted as well. And so if I lower the opacity a little bit of these tissue overlays and zoom in, you'll start to see all these cellular markers here, noting according to the color legend, the output from the algorithm on a cellular level. And so I'll pause here. Eric, our pathologist on the call, will kind of just give a detail, high-level, quick overview of this algorithm and the value it provides from a pathologist perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So Josh did a very nice job highlighting the features of this AI model. And what I want to point out is what I said at the beginning, introduction, where here you're seeing the AI in the context of the viewer, right? So Josh has clicked right into the AI and you can see the overlays, you can see the data in the same viewing pane as the IMS. So you're not having to go out to a separate window to view the AI. And we think there are distinct advantages of having the AI native to your IMS. And Jamie later will talk about some other advantages of that, now bringing some of that AI data into your case work list and being able to sort cases based on tumor content, for example. In this particular case, for the pathologists on the call, you've by now figured out this is a GE junction biopsy, and we have normal esophagus, and we have an adenocarcinoma in the gastric epithelium here. And in terms of the utility, I think this case is nice. And Josh, if we go back to that squamous epithelium with the folds, and you see highlighted in yellow is the artifact. So it's detecting, Josh, the piece to the left. Yeah, so you'll see the further left, the squamous epithelium. Yeah. And so you can imagine a histotech, for example, reviewing cases based on the threshold, perhaps, of artifact presence, where they can choose to recut the case or rescan it. And then for the tumor content, I talked earlier about in terms of applications, using this foundation model to help with NGS sufficiency. So imagine this is a case you would want to, and Josh, maybe we could pan a bit higher to the higher fragment. Yeah. And then turn on the tumor overlay. Yeah. Right. So, the pink areas, for example, highlighting the cancer epithelium, this could be used for downstream micro or meso dissection, for example, as part of an NGS workflow. So just trying to highlight some of the benefits of having AI in general, but more specifically having AI native to your IMS. The other thing I'll point out is Josh showed all that data. If you're using a third-party AI application with a different IMS that doesn't have enough data fields to accept the data, you're literally going to lose that data. So I think that's another valuable advantage to having AI native to the IMS. But Josh, maybe we can show them a different case.
Yeah, absolutely. We can also showcase another example of an algorithm that we have run here, which is our HER2 algorithm. So we'll be launching this HER2 algorithm. You'll see the same viewer, but in this case, you can see that our AIM HER2 breast algorithm has been run, and we have the quantitative scores and the visual overlays for that algorithm. Now you notice here on this particular slide, actually, there's on-slide control tissue on the left-hand side. So we do automatically exclude that we automatically give the user the option to exclude that for our IHC algorithms. So you can see here, when I click add exclusion region, the system has said, hey, these are the tissue areas we have identified. You can select those to confirm, and then the result is going to be modified to exclude those areas. And so the quantitative results have been updated, and the overlays are now also masked to show just these areas of inclusion. And so one click of a button, no delay needed. You're able to really adjust that to your liking. And so yes, this is the HER2 algorithm, as Eric just mentioned, and we have here a little bit of different representation with our overlays. We're able to see density heat maps that are showing areas consistent with different HER2 category scores in terms of 0, 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, et cetera. And you're able to toggle on and off the visibility of each of these with these eye icons.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. And something to point out. So before Josh excluded that on-slide control, it was quantifying a HER3 area, 3 plus, because that's the control is a positive control. And after he did the exclusion, you can see that it's showing 0, 3 plus areas because it's ignoring the control and only scoring the patient tissue. Another important point to mention, and Josh, maybe if you can drag the H&E over as a side-by-side view, which is another cool feature of the IMS, you can have a locked side-by-side viewing. So you can see the AI is only running the HER2 model in the appropriate area of the biopsy, meaning the invasive carcinoma part of the biopsy. So it's completely ignoring the normal tissue. This case doesn't have a lot of DCIS, but if DCIS were there, that would also be excluded from model quantification, which saves pathologists time from circling regions of interest and so forth. The other thing I'll point out, which Josh commented on, is this sort of heat map view. We've gone with this intentionally. And Josh, maybe if you show the slides results review again, you can see the algorithm not only gives you the overall score, which is 1 plus in this area. So the green are the 1 plus areas, the blue are the 2 plus areas, yellow or 0, and there is no 3 plus, but that would be purple. And so each of those scoring bin areas, you have an associated area. So as you know, the ASCO-CAP guidelines recommend reporting of HER2 genetic heterogeneity. And so a tool like this makes that a bit easier by providing the area associated with each score.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Also, you'll notice that when Eric prompts me to drag that slide over, that these slides were automatically aligned upon their ingestion. So the pathologist, did not have to go through the process of aligning them, which we do make simple with the workflow, but these were automatically aligned upon ingestion. Also, one thing that we wanted to highlight that is new to our 2.7 release is a great new collaboration tool called AISight Live. And so AISight Live, you can toggle on here. And so when I enable that, this is going to enable really seamless live collaboration amongst colleagues that I want to collaborate with. So I can start a session from the current accession. And here I'll be able to copy this invite link and send it here to, I'm going to send it to Eric and Jamie. And then you're going to see them when they click that link, enter this accession into our AISight Live queue. Once they do, we're going to have this spotlight feature. And so this spotlight feature is going to enable me to follow Eric or Jamie, and they can corral us. So Eric, being the pathologist, if he clicks his spotlight icon, he's going to corral Jamie and I to start following him, and he's going to be able to show me around the exact parts of the slide that he's viewing and what particularly he's interested in looking at. Alternatively, I can spotlight Jamie here. We can have Jamie kind of show us quickly around the slide, and you'll be able to see that I'm following the cursor here. So really seamless live integration and collaboration tool enabled by AISight Live that has a lot of use cases from curbside consults like here, but also you could facilitate tumor boards this way by having accession discussion, having a queue of accessions, using folders, etc. So you can see as Jamie adds slides, adds annotations, that all that is kind of loading directly on my monitor here. When I end this session, one thing we also want to detail is a little bit of the slide management functionality within AISight. So you can see here, if this was a great slide that you actually did want to present later on a tumor board, you could of course come here and add slides to a folder. You could select all those slides, or individually, if we wanted to select all, you could then create a folder called HER2 or breast tumor board, and you can enable that to be private, public, etc. When you do create that, you'll be able to add slides to that folder, and then you can use that folder as a queue for AISight Live to walk through certain workflows, or just have your own repository of slides for research projects to revisit later, etc. And you can, of course, access those folders here on the slides page, where you're able to see the folders that you have that are public to your institution, et cetera, see the slides you viewed most recently in your clinical workflow, and according to all metadata we have in the platform, start to filter these results by anything that you may want to view slides and start to do image management in those capacities. You can, of course, continue to filter based on region comment, mentions, containment, our results from our artifact model, which can classify an algorithm as, a slide as adequate quality or deemed of low enough quality to have a replacement requested, pathology review results in terms of our algorithm results, et cetera. Now we have a little bit less than 20 minutes left. So me and Jamie wanted to make sure that we did have time to touch upon some of the exciting new features that are yet to come. I just want to make it clear that this is a nice overview that we're providing, but it's not holistic. So here you see that, for example, we have a user preferences page. We didn't get to much of this today. We have a lot of functionality within the platform that goes beyond this. And we have a lot of functionality on our roadmap that does go beyond what we're going to showcase today. But Jamie and I wanted to present at a high level a few of the really cool features that we expect to launch this year so that you're able to get a good idea of some of the stuff on our plate that's yet to come. The themes that we focus on this year is always user-centric. So we're always listening to feedback, making sure that we have time in our quick release process to launch improvements and requests based on customer feedback. It's a really valuable part of our process in development. We also really focus on how we can efficiently enable workflows for pathologists. Every click we want to eliminate, right? We want to enable your workflow as seamless as possible. And so we want to enable that seamless digital experience for all the critical lab workflows that you're looking to do digitally. Customization, you saw the user preferences page. We have a lot of user preferences and customer preferences or configurations that we want to enable to make sure that you're using AISight for the best for your lab's preferences and use cases. And then also continue to build tools like AISight Live that empower you with digital products to facilitate different use cases that you want, really getting the power out of your digital pathology experience. A couple of examples of these efficiencies that we want to enable, right? We have, you saw how we embed AI. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to embed AI in our artifact detect models, for example, so that you're able to see if a slide that you uploaded is high enough quality for review, or before a pathologist has to view it, it should be kicked back for a replacement, really enabling that efficiency. Digital tumor board streamline support that we talked about, and Jamie will talk about a little bit more with some of the annotation tools that we're going to launch to even make that more seamless. Smart case assignment, embedding AI not only in our slide viewer, but also in the dashboard that you saw that I led off this demo with, to showcase and help a pathologist triage their caseload to show cases that are flagged with tumor or artifact. And also what you see a screenshot of here is digital, well, I shouldn't say digital, but guided AI review. And so taking a step beyond what Eric talked about with our algorithm results to start having the algorithm showcase a pathologist areas of hotspot or tumor concentration that we suggest they take a look at first within the next session. And so really even streamlining that assistance even more to help a pathologist in their day-to-day. An example of case prioritization and also what we want to do with case auto assignment to enable efficiency. You can see here what we're going to be launching actually in our next version of AISight, which is not too far away in terms of AI impressions, starting to flag cases that have tumor or gross artifact within the dashboard directly, so pathologists can take action and help streamline their workflow. And then also within a pathologist workflow, because we're starting to understand when cases have tumor, the average case complexity, a valuable tissue area, all these things we're able to compute with our AI, we're starting to be able to embed that into labs' automatic case assignment workflows. So you're able to ensure really equal distribution and smart distribution of cases to your pathologist team. Optimization, customization, always something we want to just touch upon. Every release, we're adding new user preferences, new configurations based on feedback and based on new features we launched to make sure that we are, building the best product for each user. Every user is unique. And then also operational dashboards. As we launch more functionality, it's important that we also launch functionality for you to manage that within your lab and view all the efficiency gains that you are receiving from AISight, whether using algorithms or not. All right, I'll pass off to Jamie. Jamie has a lot of exciting new features that are solely within the slide viewer that we're going to walk through as well that will be included in this year.
Great, thanks, Josh. All right, so very excited to talk through some of the slide viewer features and functionality that we're working on right now or planning to release later in the year. So top of mind for us is building upon that AISight Live, that live collaboration functionality that we just showed off. Kind of expanding the number of use cases that we explicitly support with that functionality. So consults and educational forums today. And then as Josh mentioned, kind of expanding support to kind of fit more precisely, I suppose, with your tumor board workflows. So coming up soon in AISight Live, we'll incorporate guest support. So right now, that functionality is available for provisioned users only, but we'll expand that and allow non-provisioned guest users to participate in live sessions, of course, seeing de-identified views in the slide viewer page. And then also very excitingly, we're incorporating audio or voice support. So building in that audio and voice support directly into AISight Live really means that you don't necessarily need to use a phone call. You don't need to have a video conferencing application open at the same time. So really bringing the entire collaboration experience directly into AISight. In the future, kind of later in the year, we'll think about incorporating additional kind of interface setup options. This is kind of a good catch-all term for this. Thinking about supporting things like presentation modes, case queue labeling, and prioritization. And all of that is really in service of this tumor board support that we're really focusing on this year. And along with that, we'll incorporate things like slide and annotation tags. Are these pertinent to that tumor board, to the case that you're reviewing during that tumor board at the time? Next slide. Next up, so Josh was talking a lot about this and showed off a little bit of a sneak peek of our user preferences page in the platform today. But kind of one of our big focuses in the past and in the future is really that we want to be putting the control of the slide viewer experience in the hands of the individual pathologist. All of our pathologist users are different, and we really want to meet them where they are and serve kind of their needs, allowing for that really deep customization to help improve efficiency, ease of use, and even comfort with all of those repetitive motions that our users are doing every day. So with this, we'll incorporate additional ways to kind of tune the navigation. So Josh mentioned that we kind of incorporated in 2.7 the ability to fine tune that panning and zooming velocity even. We'll add in additional ways to navigate that slide images, like hot edges or flick navigation. These are some examples of requests that we've gotten directly from our users. So we love incorporating that on an ongoing basis. We'll also incorporate kind of metadata customization as well, information that's displayed in the slide tray. The metadata there, also a per user custom sort, and expanding our preferences around kind of that default view preference. In the future, and this is probably a little bit more of a teaser and probably deserves more of a shout out, is that we'll be working on an in-platform notification system as well. So Josh mentioned that in that region commenting functionality he showed during the demo, if we tag Eric in a comment, he'll get an email for that. We also want to incorporate that and bring that into the platform to have this unified notification center. Along with that, we want to be sure that we're allowing our users to set preferences around their notifications, whether those are in the platform or by email. Next slide. Another big chunk of work kind of focusing around this efficiency theme is around quantification or counting support. And that means lots of different things, certainly. But one of the first things that we'll be incorporating is a manual counting tool, essentially allowing users to place these point annotations on the image as depicted in this design prototype on the right here. Where we'll allow our users to create multiple groups of point annotations, and the system will automatically tally those. Along with that, we'll also incorporate we've already released this kind of field concept in the platform, but we'll allow, we're kind of combine these two features and say that the high-powered field or a field of some size can serve as this bounding box to quantify point annotations within those fields, as well as summing counts across those fields for a lot of these common quantification tasks that pathologists are doing on a daily basis as well. Lastly, we'll also be thinking about similar, not dissimilar from kind of what Josh was showing around the guided AI review with those hotspots or regions of interest. There are a lot of different ways that we can kind of slice and dice this experience. And so one thing that we're thinking about is creating this functionality to return and display these real-time local dynamic algorithm features within a high-powered field or perhaps within a user-defined region of interest as well. Next. All right, and then kind of even further broadening the use cases that we'll be supporting. One big project that we have that we'll be breaking ground on soon is for Z-stacked image support. So ingest and display of those Z-stacked images with this really snappy, smooth cross-plane navigation with really intuitive controls in the slide viewer, along with shortcut actions, of course. We'll also give users the ability to associate annotations to a given plane of an image. We'll also add in essentially multi-channel fluorescent microscopy study support, so ingest, display, channel interactions. And then kind of two other items we'll be thinking about is incorporating this idea of saving slide views and presentation states, case tagging and categorization that will knit nicely with the IMS functionality and filters there. And lastly, we'll also kind of continue to expand upon the existing snapshot tool functionality to kind of create this figure maker that will allow you to kind of configure those images, options to include metadata, scale bar, annotations, et cetera, for potentially inclusion in publications, in posters, or in reports as well. Excuse me. All right, so I think that is all we have for walking through our roadmap. I'm very happy to have been able to share all of the exciting work that we have planned for 2024. And I think we'll hand it back over to Eric now.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jamie.
Jamie. I just wanted to, sorry, Eric, just to address one question there is in the chat, and then people can feel free to ask more. There was one anonymous question. Just wanted to detail that we do use AWS currently, and we do have servers located in several locations to enable the most fast use of AISight in terms of performance. We are working on active LIS integrations, so you can tell that this product is going to be more powerful when you start to pull in data from an LIS system that is centric to a lab's workflow and enable really streamlined workflows. So that's something we work with on a customer basis to see what workflow works best for them in terms of adopting AISight, and then we'll work on those integrations. We have a whole integration team here at PathAI. And then the commercial questions are great questions, but we're going to defer to someone on our commercial team, and we'll be happy to chat if you want to reach out to our team via the website. So any other questions we're happy to take, and if not, Eric can provide a quick wrap up. And we did well on timing, so we might end a couple minutes early.
Yep. Thanks, Josh and Jamie. And thanks to all of you for joining us today for this webinar. Hopefully you learned something about AI pathology in general, and specifically about our IMS AISight. We do have time for questions. I'm not sure if people can speak their questions or have to go through the Q&A chat. I do want to call on Professor Manfred Dietl. He had raised his hand earlier on the webinar. I know Manfred very well. Manfred, it's great to have you here. So if you're still here, if you have a question, please go ahead.
I don't see him in the participant list any longer. You might have had to duck out.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, I'll follow up with him later. So if anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I see no open questions, but maybe we'll just give it a few more seconds and see. Maybe people are typing.
Do you have any plans for educational workflows for residents and medical students? Yeah, it's a great question. So the slides part of the platform that I showcased, where you really have access to all the inventory of digital slides that you've uploaded, really empowers us to offer easy access to digital slides for not only, of course, the clinical use cases, but educational and research. And so between folders, the ability to have different user roles for residents, for instructors, as well as the ability to use data in a number of ways. We already have customers that are using AISight for those educational residents and medical students. And, that's kind of an ongoing thing, as Jamie and I talked about, to understand the additional use cases that you may want to use the product for. Any gap in platform functionality will then work to see how we can best address to make those most seamless.
Yeah, and I'll add, and Josh, I don't know if you have the platform handy to pull up, but as you add cases from your case list into different folders, you have the option to de-identify those cases automatically.
Yeah, it's a great
So you
point,
don't have
Eric. I
to
can bring that
consider
up
the
quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, while I do bring that up, the other question is a good question. And yes, we can integrate with the Epic LIS system. Sorry, 1 second. I'm just pulling up the demo environment again. Give me 1 second here. Any other questions, though, please feel free to add. As Eric was noting, as you're going through your workflow, you can add slides to a folder. And when you have that folder, you can then select those slides. You can go into directly automatically. Your folders will prompt opening of a de-identified accession. And so you can see here, any slide you select will be opened up without PHI at the top. And so really utilizing you to use this without subjecting users to PHI, no label, et cetera, so that you don't have to worry about PHI constraints when you're trying to collaborate with an AISight. You can, of course, go back to that PHI view if everybody has access to it and you find that to be useful. And also you have the ability to share slides. This is going to copy a link to my clipboard. If you don't want to do region comments with the tagging or use AISight Live, you can just share slides with other users. It'll bring them to the exact part of the slide that you're viewing, which can be really helpful. And you can also share a slide with a guest. So a non-provisioned AISight user that you may want to be collaborating with on a short-term basis, we enable that as well. And that will once again copy a link that can expire in any time integer of your preference.
And that all depends on the permissions that you set up during the setup phase, where attendings clearly would have pathologist rights and to view PHI and de-identified versus you might have other users who only have access to the de-identified view.
Yeah. And we do support all major scanners in the ingestion of these files that we are showing today. To answer that last question from Michael Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So I'm not seeing any additional questions. So please feel free to follow up with us after the webinar or through our website if you have additional questions. We do plan to have additional webinars on more topics, so stay tuned for those. But thank you once again to everyone for joining us today for this session. We really appreciate it and look forward to interacting with you again in the future. Bye for now.